Heyla, and welcome to Coffee with Avila. I'm Aviana Lemaire, and on this channel we talk about neurodivergence and greater living. And I want to sit back and have kind of a cozy moment on kind of a cool and cloudy, rainy day. Got my coffee, and I'm thinking about, can't see it, I was swirling. I'm thinking about routines. And routines, or whatever you want to call them, habits, rituals, I'm going to oversimplify because this video isn't talking about them. It's just about bringing it up and bringing up the description as other people present it, and then addressing quickly why it didn't fully suit me and what my experience actually was and is. So, one of the great indicators of being autistic that kept throwing me in my life because I didn't know about the ADHD yet. I thought about it, but it didn't suit me greatly because there were so many limitations, and they're not paying attention to ADHD in females and all this different stuff. But nonetheless, it threw me in both categories. And one of the things that threw me about the autism thing is you're supposed to have this whole thing about routines, and it's about having something take place and having it take place in a certain way and having it take place at a certain time each day or week, month, whenever it's taking place. The timing is important. Now, I didn't have that, and greatly because, I can change up how my routines work. I have a tendency to have a favored way in which they work. I can change it up. I reached up to grab a napkin today, and it's something that somebody else purchases in the house, and it's a paper napkin, and I needed something. The texture of it is something that I've been using forever, and I reached up there and the texture of it has changed and the product has changed completely, and my first thought was, well, this is horrifying. That's not what I expected. I don't know what to do with it. I don't know how it's going to function for my task, and I needed the task now. I needed it done immediately. But then I noticed, and this is where my ease with the change came in. First I was horrified, what the heck is this? But then I was totally fine because it's a better change. Before, the napkins were actually way too soft and slim. They were thin. They didn't really absorb, but they did not. Ooh, let me just deal with my energy for a second. They didn't really absorb properly, and now this new thing, it's a completely different type of paper. It's thicker. It's kind of like a paper towel. It's weirdly soft. It almost feels like fabric dryer sheets of the 90s. I used to hate touching those things, but love using them because I was trained to use them and they did a lot of good things, but I'd hate to touch them with my skin because the chemicals in them would get on my fingers and I'd have a texture that I could not stand on my fingertips. Then I'd be trying to get that off. This paper somehow felt like that, so it was miserable because the texture was hideous. But even though the texture was hideous, the paper worked better. It's more there I go again, I'm about to say absorbent, which is a combination of absorbent and observant, I can tell. I don't know why, but it works better at its job, so I was fine with the paper as I was using it. I just really hated that it was so different to begin with because I didn't know what to expect. Is this going to mess up what I need to do? It actually fixed it, so I'm fine with a change in my routine if it actually fixes it. I'm still weirded out that there's a whole package of these things I've been accustomed to for so many years, and now they're just permanently different, but whatever. If it works better and I'm not that attached to them in the first place, it didn't jar my whole morning or anything because I kind of don't care about the napkins. But it's an example of how I can have a routine and something in the routine can shift if it's better. I do prefer making the decision myself rather than having a company just change it up and completely shock and horrify me when I need their product in an emergency one day. I really like changing stuff myself because I've thought about it and I know it'll work. But my routine can shift and I can be fine with it. It can shift times of the day and I can be fine with it. Because I have a bizarre living situation, in my mind I'm a fairy tale character who lives in some kind of fairy tale house in the woods. I'm basically living in a hobbit house with a garden of my own, and it's not like I want to be all off the grid, but I kind of want to be in a fairy tale and at the same time have access to cosmopolitan shopping. I want a variety of things, a very specific variety of things. I basically want to be a city mouse living in a country house. I think that's probably the perfect way to explain it. I want to be a city mouse living in a country house where you can take the mouse out of the city, but you can't take the city out of the mouse. Anyway, so I know it sounds like that just went off the rails because I just heard myself and then got tickled by my mouse hobbit house situation and forgot my point. What I'm trying to say is, because I'm not living in that perfect situation where I'm the only one and it's a fairy tale world and I can do anything I want in my house and my home area because I'm the one in control and everything works for me, I kind of unfortunately have the opposite situation. People all around, not compatible with them, not compatible with the way that they do things, not compatible with the area, so nothing really works for me. I'm always just doing my best. So even if I wanted to have a routine in the traditional autistic sense of being able to do the same thing at the same time every single day, it's not going to work for me because my environment is incompatible with my needs. So this is why I'm kind of glad I have that amalgam, right? I've explained how it didn't suit the autistic thing. I can't quite do it that way. The timing isn't that important to me. I think by nature it's not that important to me, which is a great blessing because I don't have the luxury of having timing work like that for me. But when you hear, frankly, my studies on ADHD routines are that they don't exist, so there's not really anything to be found. It's more like, here's how you can, no. Generally what they're saying is, having a problem starting a routine, here's what'll help. Start a routine. But long story short, they're just kind of telling you, you need to do this, you need a routine. It's not necessarily a bunch of functional stuff telling you here's what might actually work in your life. They're just kind of telling you you're ADHD, guess you don't have any. You don't have any routines, you don't do anything at the right time or the same time or blah, blah, blah. Autism is kind of like they're telling you you are magnetized toward the routine and the timing and the way in which it gets done. And ADHD descriptions are always like you're being magnetized away from it, like positive, negative. It's like autism is like the routine is a negative and autism is positive, so it's just flying over there. And ADHD is like the routine is still a negative, but ADHD is also a negative, so they're just fighting each other and won't get anywhere near. Let me sit my coffee down. Because I remember as a child that thing where you discover that, ooh, positive, negative magnets connect. But you try to do two negative magnets, you can't force them to get near each other because there's a field in there that's just making them not connect. My experience has not been that, it's fine, I'm running into my desk. My experience has not been that I can't have the routine set up, that I can't figure out how to do it, that I can't make it come together. I do have a lot of things where I might forget a part of the routine. It kind of depends on the level of stress. Like I have an environment that is inherently and actively, I need to hiccup, excuse me, bubble in my throat, I'm trying to get it gone. It's been inherently and actively negating really my mental health and my well-being. So I'm apt to forget parts of my routine also, but it's not that inherent to me. I've had moments in my life where I've been completely alone and I have total peace and quiet, which doesn't mean it has to be quiet. I could have music playing, there could be TV on. It's just it has to be peaceful, something I can function with that's not harmful for me. And when I have peace on that level where everything is something I can function with that's not harmful for me, I find that I can do my routines without forgetting much of anything. And that if I do forget it, it doesn't feel like it's just rocking my life and my day because I'm not stressed out, right? So there are aspects, I'm trying to figure out what exactly is what with me, but while I do know what is just me and what has always been me, I'm also in a place where sometimes it's a heck of a lot more intense than it has to be, and it'll come out as a very negative side of things just because it's happening in a bad environment. That's very important to be mentioned because it's just my truth and my experience, and you need that context in order to listen and make your own judgments. That's what I always say. I'm trying to tell you, I want to help, but ultimately I always want everybody to listen, decide whether or not you believe me. Don't take anything anyone says just because they're saying it, including me. Just listen and use healthy judgment, wisdom, boundaries. If you can get something good from it, go with it. And if you can't, then just go. Everybody needs to do that. Use healthy judgment and wisdom. But it is important that it's not like I'm in the prime environment for everything to set up perfectly, because that does affect each one of my days and how my routines can set up. But the main thing that I've noticed is I never fit into the autistic style of routine, and I don't fit into the ADHD style of routine. But what I do fit into, and this takes into account my entire life of experiences, whether it's complete chaos that I'm in or whether it's the rare moment of peace that I've had throughout my life. I have an amalgam. The ADHD thing, as I experience, is that I have routines, and I call them floater routines, because they do not need to take place at a certain time in the day. It doesn't occupy a certain space within my, wake up to sleep routine. But what it does do is sort of occupy a certain space within my mind. It's kind of like a set of Lego bricks, where you might have a set of Lego bricks, and not like the ones where you buy them and you have to make a certain thing, or you're meant to make a certain thing. You just have bricks, old-fashioned, like you used to be able to do very easily. I know you can't do it easily anymore, because I've tried and I keep finding specific branded sets. I've looked for myself as an adult for many years. Sometimes I just check how easily can I find the bricks that are regular, where it's not a specific set and you can just have a million bricks and build whatever you want. But it's kind of like that from when I was a child, where I could get the bricks and I could build whatever I want. So if you've had those and you like it, you have the tools that you need, the building blocks, quite literally, that you need to create your routine, whatever it is. If I wanted to build a certain type of house out of those bricks, I knew how to do it because I had done it before. But it didn't mean I was always going to use the same base. Like, they had this big green Lego brick base that I used to use. I wasn't always going to use that same base. Sometimes I'd use another one of a different size. Sometimes I would just want to kind of freehand build it on a table instead of sticking it on that base. I can build it anywhere I want. It's just that I know I'm basically building the same house. And at the same time, when I would build with the bricks, I might decide, oh, well, this time I want to make a teeny weeny little Lego sofa for my little Lego person to sit on. Maybe I'd make Lego chairs next time out of smaller bricks, or Lego chairs out of tiny bricks, Lego sofa out of the bigger bricks. Maybe I would want to make a whole Lego sectional that goes around, in an L shape. I could shift it up and change it, and that's how my routines work. It's kind of like that. The thing that's the same is that I'm using the same building blocks. So for instance, if I'm making my coffee, which I adore doing, and I've been going through a whole ordeal trying to get my coffee together. I've been trying different things. They haven't been working too well for me recently, so I went back to my coffee routine that is home for me, the way I do it, certain amount of water, certain amount of coffee, my recipe with some sea salt and stevia and sugar and cayenne pepper, and I'm making buttered coffee. Make it in water, I add my milk, I put the butter in. It's a whole shebang that I go through. I know how to do it. I can autopilot it, which is just, I said that to somebody once and they said, what do you mean? And I thought, okay, well, I am using the term in an unusual way, but autopilot is just being able to go into that part of your mind where you're so accustomed to the routine that you can do it without thinking about it. I say I autopilot it, meaning I don't have to worry about it and actively think about it. I can go off into my mind, think, pray, ruminate. I can do whatever I need to do, focus on something else that I'm cooking, because I know so well how to make that coffee. The building blocks for it, the coffee, the water, all the stuff that I have in the same place. I put it together in the same way. It's going to come together to be the same coffee, or it should. My hope is always that I'm going to end up with my cozy comfort coffee. And that is kind of how all of my routines work. It's like the building of the coffee, where I do it in the same way. But, for instance, I don't always have my coffee first thing in the day. There are times when I don't even want my coffee that day, and then right before sleep, I think, you know what I'd really like? I'd like some coffee. So if I can go get that done, I will go make my coffee. It's a completely different time in the day, but I'm using the same routine to make it, and I end up with the same cozy comfort coffee. You know, I put it into my same favorite mug with my same favorite volume and my same favorite amount, and I wrap it with one of my towels that I like. That's my cozy. I was always looking for coffee and tea cozies, and I realized the best thing for me was to get a new package of washcloths in a nice color and just wrap it around the mug. That's what I was doing anyway. So I just decided to get some that I specifically use for stuff like that. So that is now, you know, my floater routine always culminates in my same cozy comfort coffee. There comes that hiccup bubble again. Oh my gosh. This is kind of how all of my floater routines work. I hope I'm not... My microphone is shifting. Oh my gosh, I hope it has not been doing that like crazy for the whole video. If this video's up, then we know it's not horrible. Now I'm concerned. Let's just go with it and assume that everything is okay. But this is how all of my routines work when it comes down to something like straightening up. There's a certain way in which I like to do it. Certain things go in certain places for certain reasons. I can change it up. I often do change it up. I enjoy rearranging, reorganizing. Organization for me is a hobby. It's fun. I like doing it. Sometimes I reorganize things. Sometimes I try something else. Usually it works because I can see it. I can visualize it before I do it. If I haven't had the time to visualize it before I do it, sometimes it does not work out properly. But I will change it up, and if it works, I don't have a problem with the fact that I'm shifting my routine. If it's me shifting it, I don't like other people messing things up for me. That happened the other day and I'm still suffering, but I'm trying to deal with it. It just means that I now need to go out of my way to get more stuff done and unfortunately make some more purchases to replace some stuff that was messed up for me. But long story short, things work in a certain way for a certain reason, and it doesn't matter when I'm doing it in that time of the day. My routine works that I like to move my books before, you know, I have a basket of books, journals, and things that I use often. They're usually on my desk when I'm asleep. And then when I'm not asleep, I pick them up and I set them on my bed so I can have the extra desk space. So I move those pretty much every day because I don't really need it there while I'm sleeping right next to it. And I really don't need it in my way when I need extra work surface on my desk. So I pretty much know that's going to be one of the first things I put in place. You know, I'm going to move things in a certain order. That's just a part of the routine. Certain things are going to go into a certain location. I might take out things like multivitamins and sit them in a certain location. I'm not going to just generally sit them anywhere. I'm going to sit them in a certain location because, quite frankly, I think ADHD brain knows if I don't put it where I'm used to it being, I'm going to forget that I picked up the multivitamins and I'm not going to remember to take them. So if I take the multivitamins out and sit them someplace, I'm going to sit them in the same place. But that doesn't mean I'm even going to think to take them at the same time every day. Some days I completely forget to take them at all. We want the floater routine to be nice and functional and for everything to be okay, but I do consider it a victory if I remember them most of the time. I'm never going to get those vitamins at the exact same time every day, and that's supposed to be like the autistic thing. I think for people who are, as my friend calls it, I have a friend who's a logophile. It's not a flaming irritating choice, it's just because that's what the word means. She refers to it as being a pure autist, and she's a pure autist, autism, not ADHD. And the experience that she is always explaining to me, because she knows she's known a lot of people who are pure autists, not ADHD, and her experience is she could take those vitamins at the exact same time every single day, remember them without a problem. I listen to this and I'm in awe. I'm like, remember? That's a funny word. What does that mean? I can do something like remembering, but it's kind of more like that sensation of just living in a state of forgetting, and then all of a sudden having this sensation strike me that's almost like a cool breeze flies through my body, like, oh yeah, multivitamins. Oh my gosh, let me stop everything I'm doing and immediately reach for the vitamins, because if I don't, I'm going to forget. right? It might be like that. It might be a few days before I remember to grab them, but I can about guarantee you that when I remember to grab them and I actually physically go get them, I'm going to pick them up and I'm going to sit the bottle in just about the exact same space on my desk every single day, because it works for me. There's space for it. It won't fall over. It's far from the edge. I won't knock it over. There are a bunch of reasons why, but where it's sitting, I will see it. And even if I don't take them in that moment, I will remember that they are there because they're slightly in my way, and I can process them with the necessary senses to get it done. So that's kind of its own floater routine. Taking my supplements, unfortunately, are kind of non-temporally specific routines that take place in the same fashion while I'm doing them, but including the way in which I take them, very often the liquids with which I take them, because, you know, some things go down easier with a thicker drink like coffee, and some things you need to take with a specific drink like water, or you have to take them with food. So sometimes the routine involves that, but it's just, I might do it at breakfast, it might be at dinner, if it's something where that is safe. And with something like over-the-counter multivitamins, it's safe for me to take them at different times in the day, right? I'm just saying, once again, it's a safety thing. Always use wisdom and judgment. If you have things that you have to take and that's the wise, safe thing for you to do, please do it in the wisest and safest way. Me and my multis, I know I can take them at any time on any day when I remember. Even if I want to hit it every day, I've kind of made my peace with the fact that that's probably not going to happen. It's just that when it does happen, it's going to happen in the same way. So it's going to look like that routine is unfolding when I'm always needing the same kind of drink, or I get up and go get the right kind of thing, or I go get food for it. But it might have happened at noon yesterday. It might be happening at midnight today. The next day I might be asleep at midnight. I don't know. It's just that whenever I do it, it functions properly. Like with making the coffee, I do the same thing with straightening up. I do the same thing with putting laundry away, or even doing laundry. I do it in a certain way, but it's flexible. And a lot of that is naturally flexible because it suits my needs, my energy, my health. Everything that I'm dealing with, everything that I'm dealing with in my life, in every capacity, kind of affects how the routine unfolds. So if I were living a fairy tale life in a fairy tale hobbit house, it might seem more like a structured, cohesive series of routines, but I can guarantee you, because I know my brain, I know my life, and I know what I've done even in rare moments of peace, it's still not going to be that I take the pill at noon every day, and it's still not going to be that I make my coffee as soon as I awaken. It's not going to be like a happy, cutesy TV program or a movie. I mean, some people are actually living that, right? But for me, it's like TV program or a movie. I can get up and I can do this at the same time every day. I know I can't, because that's not how my life works. So it's a blessing to me that I have the capability to shift, because if I didn't, I think it would run me insane in a completely different way. It's very often not relaxing for me when I can't do what I need. If I take my floater routine and I have the energy, and then something happens in the incompatible environment with the incompatible, and it ruins that for me, then I'm pretty much fritzed. So that is another thing that is a pretty traditional sort of indie marker, like the autistic thing. If I'm doing it and I'm in the moment, even if I floated the routine, when I'm in the moment and I need it done now and everything thwarts me, we're gonna have a meltdown. I'm going to be doing everything I can do to get to a private location so that I can have it privately, so that it's not even worse and more humiliating than it needs to be. That's maybe getting into other subject matter, but I do have that, something like reaching for, I think, did I explain this? I'm having this time frame where I'm having to re-record videos, so I don't know if I explained it or not. I think I did in this video. I reached for a napkin because I needed something very quickly, and it was right there, and it's a brand I know and have been using forever, but they've changed it, the texture and everything. It functions differently now. So it kind of fritzed me when I saw that it was different, but the fact is that it works better than what it used to be, so then it was fine. That was a routine shakeup that stressed me out for a while, but when I realized that it was doing the job that I needed in a better way, then the stress just melted away, and all of a sudden it was a better thing for me, and I'm okay with that product changing itself up because it's now working better in my life. It still kind of freaks me out that it's different, but I know I'll be able to get used to it, and it'll ultimately be a good thing, or else it won't be a big deal, because who knows if I'm even going to still be using the same product in the future. It might be something else. But when it comes down to just, like, let's say that I had picked up that napkin and it had been horrible and it had fallen apart as soon as it touched moisture, and it had been a nightmare, and now I've got bits and pieces of paper everywhere. If it had been a horrible change, that would have sent me over the edge. I would have been really upset because I'm trying to do emergency cleaning and, you know, damage control on something that's happening in the kitchen. I wouldn't have enjoyed that sort of exploding into utter chaos. That would have been a bad thing. I do definitely still have the experience, and we do have ADHD meltdowns for people who are, like I explained, the pure autist thing, not ADHD, just autistic. For people who are ADHD and not also autistic, they do also have meltdowns. That is a thing in the ADHD experience, but it doesn't seem to be a very well-known thing. I wonder, personally, in my own theorydom, that's my word, just, you know, the queendom of my own theories, if that's because ADHDers are such a different, like, the pure ADHD experience is so different than the pure autistic experience. I wonder if the people viewing ADHDers as children are looking at children who are highly energetic and they don't understand what's going on. Everything seems unusual to them. So they see something where the ADHD child, especially because they're a child, is upset by something, things aren't working out, and they're just suddenly, the child has a reaction, and that person is like, it's a child, and it's an energetic, rambunctious child, so now they're just having a fit. I just think all of that energy and all of that age have come together so that they're throwing a fit, you know? Because people even call autistic meltdowns a fit, despite the fact that the information is everywhere. Come on. The information is everywhere. A lot of us now in this new generation are able to self-advocate. The explanations are there. People still call autistic meltdowns fits for adult autists. My words are starting to get confused, so I know this video needs to wrap up soon, but I'm feeling good. I got a lot done, so I'm going to keep with it for a moment. If you're still going to call it that with an adult who has that, like, the pure autistic thing, energy is a very different thing very often than the ADHD energy or the ADHD energy. So if you're going to say that for them, I think it's very possible that people are just making that assumption about the children and they're sticking with it for life. Because a lot of people do actually throw fits intentionally for attention and manipulation purposes and all that negative stuff throughout life just because they have not ascended beyond it. It's past their level of capability to do anything else or anything better, and so they are actually throwing fits. But despite any amount of confusion or assumption or whatever is leading to it, ADHDers do have meltdowns, and it's something that I think the ADHDers themselves will have a tendency to know, but it just seems like nobody wants to talk about it. So definitely, as someone who has that ADHD influence and the autistic influence, I'm very capable of having various meltdowns for various reasons in various ways, and sometimes they feel different. But it can easily be triggered by something just completely going fritzy and insane in my day. It's just that for some reason, there is an amount of chaos that looks like pure chaos to other people. But when it's functioning for me, it's fine. And then that's actually a part of my routine, or it's something that I can deal with in my routine. It kind of seems like the more I talk about this, the more I realize there's another place where it could branch off into an entirely different situation. Like, I'm this close to getting into a conversation about how messing up a routine can affect meltdowns and how they feel and all that. And that's not really what this video is supposed to be. So I'm thinking maybe I've generally finished with my point. So I think, long story short, this is something that I've noticed. That's why I call it a floater routine. It just floats throughout my day, throughout my life, throughout my space, wherever it needs to be. It functions for me in different ways, but it is ultimately a routine. And I'm not sure that I had any, first of all, I don't think I had any love for that word because of the way people will bat it at you like a little attack when you're a child. I wasn't down with it, but it is a routine. And the more you run into it in neurodivergent culture, and the more you run into other neurodivergents who love their routines, the less loaded the word seems, or at least for me, the less loaded the word was. That's what it is. And that's how I found it really functioning in my day. You know, same thing with making my tea. I might not want tea for a few days. I might drink water or something else instead. But when I make it, I do like to make it in the exact same way. Same amount of honey, same amount of stevia, same amount of water. I probably want the same bag of tea. I have my favorites, but it doesn't necessarily become a daily routine. It might be daily for 3 weeks or 3 months, and then boom, I'm just over tea. I'm bored of it. I want something different. Yeah, that just feels repetitive, but if you have any, we're wrapping it up now. If you have anything to say on the subject, please do leave it in the comment section. Oh, I forgot to get my little floater comment here that I like to say every single time I'm closing the video. Let me see if I can bring it up, and I'm not sure if I can because I don't seem to be able to log into my phone and find it very quickly. But if you have anything to say on that, if you've had any experiences, be they similar, be they different, leave them in the comments because I'm interested to hear it. And what I have been saying lately, if I can go ahead and find it, is content on my channel is changing per se. Still going to be indie oriented, but I'm just rolling into my identity and who I am. Yeah, I can't even find my comments section. There it is. So what I'm saying is, have any thoughts or questions, share them in the comments. Notice any gaps in the autistic, ADHD, or ADHD community conversation. Want a spiritually, mystically inclusive indie voice on the subject, because I am a Christian mystic and I am not hiding this fact anymore. I need to be engaged making my own videos. That's a huge portion of my life and it affects my viewpoint on everything, so I'm not hiding it anymore. Just looking for an extra opinion or viewpoint. Share your suggestions in the comments. If I can address them, I might make them into a video. And so that's about all. Remember to like, share, subscribe, ring the notification bell for all of my newest updates, and be blessed. What I always say, love it when I forget. That's about it. Bye now.